Welcome to the second episode of Beauty B-Side. I am your host, Ray. Annyeong. I think it's time to address the issue that is Olive Young in the United States. A lot of people, at least I've heard because I don't live in LA and I live in New York. I guess I can't speak on the issue of Olive Young, the US, until I visited. But based on what I've seen so far, it's not been great, okay? Based on what I've heard. And again, I can only speak on what I'm hearing, what I'm noticing. I think it's actually quite disappointing. So the problem I keep hearing people say about Olive Young in the US, and in case you guys didn't really hear about it, and obviously if you don't live in the US, you this does not actually affect you at all because you guys still have access to Olive Young Global. But for those of us who are in the US, and I think a big part of my audience are from America or from the US, and so this does affect a lot of us. And personally, I haven't had a chance to shop at Olive Young Global too often in the past because they just had this really like ridiculous free shipping minimum where I'm like, why would I shop here if I can just shop at Style Korean, Yes Style, other places basically? And so for me, I never really had this attachment to Olive Young. I know a lot of people do in the US, and that's totally normal. Like, I think wherever you find cosmetics or whatever that fits within your financial needs, your budget, I think that's totally, do what you got to do, right? But for me, Olive Young has never really been a priority when it comes to shopping for a K beauty, at least for me, right? But the problem right now is I can only speak for myself, but in addition to a lot of content creators out there in the beauty space, we had our affiliate links and our discount codes for our subscribers and our followers with Olive Young Global for some time already. I think I applied back in 2022 and I got approved in 2023, but I'm not someone who promoted my affiliate link too often to a point where I get to like say, oh, I made sales or whatever, right? And on top of that, that's not really what I do on this channel. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to try products so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not you should buy these skincare products from Korea or from Asia in this case. I also review a lot of Asian skincare products and not just Korean, or at least I'm trying to. Moving forward, I'm trying to, but the problem right now is Olive Young wanted to expand to the US, right? Olive Young has expanded too many countries already. Like they have foundations in so many countries, and for some reason, the US is the only region that's been giving Olive Young problems. And that's, of course, because of our current president. You guys already know how I feel about our president. It's just so with tariffs and the FDA's regulations, Olive Young, being this gigantic conglomerate that it currently is, if it wishes to sell any skincare products, and I'm talking specifically sunscreens, Olive Young's gonna hit a wall, right, when it tries to expand to the US because of whatever's going on right now. And just for a little bit of context, the US FDA hasn't approved any new UV filters that, for example, Australia and many parts of Asia has been already using since the 1990s. I was born in the 90s, right? So the US FDA has not approved any new UV filters for 30 plus years. Now, to the average person, it's like, oh, whatever, right? Or I should say to the average American, it's like, oh, whatever. Like, because we've never been exposed to advanced technology, we can't say, oh, we missed out. For most of us right now who have been exposed to K beauty, J beauty, C beauty, T beauty, P beauty, and also Australian cosmetics, right? Sunscreens. We now have access to so many global goods that we understand how great a lot of these countries have it, except for us. So the US has been the only country that's been like very behind when it comes to developing and not even developing, like all these other countries out there have already developed really good UV filters. We just have to approve it. It's not even that hard. It's just that for some reason our FDA just does not want to approve any new filters. But that's the more I talk about this, the more angry I get. Okay, so let me not talk too much about this. But the problem is we have a lot of sunscreens from Korea that we love. And Olive Young carries a lot of these sunscreens, right? And I'm talking like Skin 1004, Round Lab. Round Lab's a big one. Just so many sunscreens that we love from Korea. Now, you would think, okay, well, Olive Young is expanding in the US and they're gonna sell K-beauty products, right? But that's not the case. And that's why so many I will say consumers and also beauty content creators are having a bone to pick with Olive Young, and rightfully so. So what happens when Olive Young tries to bring their Korean sunscreens over here? The US FDA is going to stop them, stop the entire shipment, and say, either you pay this high fee just to get these so-called illegal sunscreens into US soil because it's deemed illegal because these filters are not approved by the FDA, which means that these are they called contrabands? I don't think they're called contrabands, but they are labeled as a certain type of category where it cannot enter the borders of the US. And then if they do, then all of them would have to pay all these fines because they're essentially smuggling, right, these UV filters into the US. It sounds so ridiculous because it's like these UV filters are literally here to protect our skin. And the US FDA is saying that these are illegal. And it's just like, it blows my mind. It actually really makes me upset thinking about this because it's like we can have such great filters to use. And before the US FDA cracked down on this, and I know exactly why the US FDA is doing this, is because the US is losing out on a lot of money when it comes to domestic sunscreens that we don't even like. If we're not going to like a sunscreen, we're not going to buy it. So either you approve better UV filters so that we can actually enjoy you using, domestic sunscreens, or just let us buy Korean or just Asian sunscreens because I like those filters. It doesn't leave a white cast. It protects my skin. It hydrates my skin. It does so many things, and yet the US FDA is trying to make us suffer. Okay, let me just calm down a little bit because I got too upset yet again. Back to my original topic, which was why Olive Young wanted to expand in the US. Obvious reasons, right? Who wouldn't want to expand their global footprints? And the US beauty market is so lucrative. I'm talking, if anything fails in the US, it would never be the beauty market. People just love the beauty market way too much here to let it fall. And I mean, that sounds very sad and depressing, but it's true. And a big market in K-beauty is the sunscreens, right? Because believe it or not, Koreans actually don't have a lot of skincare products that they would use. If anything, biggest rule of thumb is to apply sunscreen no matter what, rain or shine, snow, on cloudy days, it doesn't matter. Sunscreen is almost like a must, right? It's something that they have to that they feel there's a need to apply. It doesn't really matter what occasion it is, it's always going to be a sunscreen, right? And every single makeup product would have some type of like SPF coverage in it as well. So layering on those sunscreen filters are so important for them. That's how they're able to achieve, much healthier skin over time. Now, when it comes to Olive Young, they want to make it seem like they're doing us a favor by saying, oh, we're coming to you, America. We're going to give you K-beauty so you don't have to, spend so much money on shipping from other e-commerce sites. So basically, Olive Young is trying to cut down on competition to ensure that more money goes to them. Now, this is where I'm actually a little bit upset about, is because I don't like being slighted. I don't like being lied to. And that's how I personally feel when it comes to Olive Young expanding into the US, is that they just keep thinking that we're dumb enough to believe that all the sunscreens and K-beauty products that they're bringing over from Korea to America is 100% the same authentic versions that the Koreans have as well, right? And that's not the case. And beauty creators are calling this out already. Like I just mentioned, the sunscreens, and there are even some products where the formulation is altered to fit the US FDA's regulations. And I'm not talking about just sunscreens, right? There are some products where certain ingredients you can go above a certain percentage. I believe it's like, is it niacinamide or azelaic acid that has like a certain percentage where you can go higher in the US? Therefore, if you do, falls under like drug abuse category or something. It's wild here. It is the wild, wild west here. The OTC is what we call it here in the US, right? The OTC sunscreens, they don't feel and they don't apply the same way the original Korean formulas feel. Like, I think we all understand that at this point, right? Skin 1004 sunscreen I personally love so much, and I noticed that it doesn't feel the same when I'm using the US version. It's a lot cakier, a lot pastier, and it's just not as comfortable in general. Round Lab, I mentioned this in my channel many, many times. Round Lab's sunscreen also falls under the category of the whole altered formula. So if you use the Round Lab sunscreen in the US, it says broad spectrum. It's actually SPF 45. It's not SPF 50, which to some people it doesn't really matter. To me, I always follow the rule of like, well, if I can get 50, why would I get 45? That's just me, actually. That's just my personal preference. Is like, I don't understand why I have to settle for less, and no one should have to settle for less in this life. That's how I think, but I don't know if that's how everyone thinks. I hope that's how everyone thinks. But then there's also like the feeling that US creators are feeling right now, right? A lot of us are feeling that we're just being punished for no reason. We suddenly lost access to our global site, or Olive Young's global site's affiliate links, and our discount code and everything for our subscribers and our followers for no reason. It's like, why can't we just keep our global site while having the US store in America? It just doesn't make sense to me. So on May 29th, 2026, which was like a week ago, if we're talking about the context of when I'm filming this, they took away all those things, right? So it's like, for no valid reason, US creators are just suddenly left with nothing. And I'm not saying this for myself because I actually don't share my code a lot with anyone. I forgot I had one, actually. So when they took it away from me, I was like, okay, whatever, like it doesn't really affect me. But I know a lot of people actually are affected in terms of like content creators in this industry, and even like viewers, right? You guys might be affected because you guys, sorry, I had to pause because my timer went off because I'm actually cooking something right now, so I needed to turn off the stove just now. US viewers are also affected because, actually no, sorry, not just US viewers, but global viewers are affected, right? So some of you guys might have certain content creators that you normally like watching, and they're based in the US, right? So they will have a code for you on the Olive Young Global site. So suddenly now you're like, oh, if I want to shop at Olive Young Global, I can no longer use my favorite content creators affiliate link because they are from the US. So now you guys lose out on discounts. It's just a big mess because it's like, for no reason, so many folks are being punished just because Olive Young wanted to make so much more money in the US. I will never side on the side of these big conglomerate companies, right? It just doesn't make sense for me. I am always a I am always a people person. Like, I will always stand on the side of humanity, right? If you want to, I guess, if I want to go into the philosophical route. But long story short, or in other words, I will never take the company side over the people that it's meant to serve. The other issue that a lot of people are having with Olive Young US is that it's actually not Olive Young. Olive Young isn't really the main character in this case. Like, Sephora is. It feels a lot like Sephora is just giving Olive Young a little store to call home. And matter of fact, what I'm seeing, actually, I think, was it? I know it's one of the Welsh twins. Can't remember if it was Robert or James that talked about this. But also Alice from Alice in a Rabbit Hole also talked about this. The Beauty Breakdown also talked about this. Is that for some reason, Olive Young US carries a lot of US products, like American cosmetics products that you can also find at Sephora. So it's like, why would you shop at Olive Young, just shop at Sephora? It doesn't make sense. So I understand people's frustration in that as well, because it just feels like Olive Young is putting on this mask like, hey, I'm still Korean, but then internally it's like, it's very whitewashed. That's something I can't stand behind. And again, that goes back to like my hurt feelings of being slighted. It's just like, it doesn't feel true to its original self. People fly to Korea just to go to Olive Young, right? Because they want to stock up on skincare products. And so Olive Young over the years have created this image for itself where it is your one-stop shop for all things K-beauty, and even like supplements, right? Because Olive Young also sells supplements, like dietary supplements. So anything that relates to beauty, Olive Young will have. And so when it made its way to the US, it just feels like a little boutique version of what Korea can actually offer. So it's like, honestly, as I'm saying all this out loud in this episode, I can't find a single reason why I would ever want to go to Olive Young US, the website or the brick and mortar store. There are no deals. Oh my gosh, that's another thing. I didn't even include it in my bullet points earlier, but Olive Young is known for the 1+1 deals, right? In Korea, you call it 1+. They took that away in the US stores. For example, if I want to buy Wellage, right? I love the Wellage blue hyaluronic acid ampule. Every time I buy that ampule, I always buy in bulk, in doubles, right? Every time I go on Olive Young, I would buy the set. You cannot do that in the US. They took away all those promotional deals where normally you would get to buy 2 of everything if you wanted to, and usually Olive Young does offer that in the global store, but they don't do that with the US store. So Olive Young is basically giving 0 incentives for us to even want to support them. Personally, I don't support Sephora. They're owned by LV, and LV is a gigantic Zio company. I will never support them. You will never catch me inside of Sephora shopping. They're not going to get any of my money. That's all I'm saying. For Olive Young to partner with Sephora, that pisses me off even more. Every single reason I listed just drives me further away from Olive Young U.S. There's no reason for me to even want to set foot in an Olive Young U.S. store unless they change everything about what's going on right now. And I think that's why I wanted to, talk about this in this episode of Beauty B-Side, is that I was watching so many content creators and beauty content creators this weekend celebrating Olive Young's grand opening in, I think it's Pasadena, right? In LA. I couldn't help but just think about like the mainstream media's coverage of Olive Young's US store is so overly positive. I don't want to say I can only see the negative, but literally Olive Young US has given me zero reason to see the plus side of everything. All I'm seeing is literally the B side, and that's why I was like, I have to talk about this. I have to bring this up. It only makes sense for me to do so because it doesn't sit well with me. It actually really upsets me how it feels like Olive Young is trying to pull a fast one simply because they want to make more money in the US, and we're kind of like just like the sitting ducks, the guinea pigs, the lambs, right? Or the sheep, I guess, that are just supposed to believe and follow everything that they're telling us. And it's like, hello, we are smart people here too. We're not just gonna sit here and believe everything that you tell us. This is a very short episode of Beauty B-Side, and I intended to keep it pretty short short relatively to my first episode. Maybe I'll talk more about this later, but for now, this is all I got. But also, this is a lot of information that just accumulated over the last week, and I just kept thinking like, wow, this is such a missed opportunity. Olive Young could have done so much more for the beauty community, specifically K-beauty community. The reason why I shifted to using K-beauty products so much ever since like 2016 is that as I was, growing up, I didn't really have a lot of options. I think a lot of the American products really just destroyed my skin. Like I'm talking like Proactive and all those stuff, and like St. Ives. K-beauty offered me such a beautiful skincare philosophy that just helped me focus on taking care of my skin, making sure my skin is healthy, and that being the main goal. Suddenly, and I'm going to talk about this in another video for sure, but suddenly like the K-beauty industry, once they globalized, it became a different beast, something I don't recognize anymore. And it's no longer about like taking care of your skin, treating your skin as the largest organ that it is. It suddenly just became, we're going to give you a problem that you're going to want to resolve, and we're going to give you that solution as well. So it just feels like a pyramid scheme over time, very specific. I'm saying that this pyramid scheme to me started happening once K-beauty tried to globalize. And typically, I'm always celebrating anything that's trying to globalize because I think, the more we can share culture, the more understanding this world can be among each other. The way K-beauty is headed, and Olive Young U.S. is kind of one of the brightest example right now I can think of in terms of the downfall of K-beauty. I think if Olive Young and other companies that are trying to follow Olive Young U.S.'s footprint in the future, it's going to eventually lead to the downfall of K-beauty. I think people in the community are going to lose interest very quickly to how things are changing and where things are headed. And so it's really sad. Honestly, it's really sad for me to see this unfold, and I really don't want this to unfold the way it already is. And I really hope that a lot of K-beauty brands and companies like Olive Young would realize like, hey, this method, this mode, is that the right word? I guess like this format, I should say, this format of this business model, thank you, Ray, for actually working today. You're at least my brain. I just hope a lot more brands and companies would wake up and realize like this business model is not going to work. The bubble's going to pop, and we're actually going to hurt our own community more than we think we're helping this community. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Beauty B-Side. If you're interested to know what my holy grail skincare products are, I do have a YouTube, what's it called? A YouTube storefront that you can check out on my YouTube channel's homepage. That storefront is basically just a list of all the products I genuinely love. So if you're curious to know what products I use daily or I repurchase every single time, those would be the products. I also will leave all my affiliate links and codes in the down bar below in case you're going to shop on any of these e-commerce sites. I usually don't promote them because I feel like it's just there for you to use, but I would like to use, if you guys will allow me to, I would like to use my podcast as a way to promote that, because I think any purchase through my links and codes will eventually help keep this channel going. In other words, every penny I make goes back to making more content for you guys. So that's just like a small way for me to ask you to, use my codes if you are thinking about shopping something, right? Because it does, help you save money, but it also gives me that small commission to help make this channel keep going. Because a lot of you guys tell me that you guys enjoy my honest reviews, and I don't have a poker face. If I don't like something, you guys will see it on my face. Like, I can't help it. I can't fix this, okay? I can't fix my face and make it appear like I like a product that I hate. And so if you want more content, that's one way to support me. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have Buy Me Coffee. I don't have any of those because I just don't feel like I can offer anything else besides making really honest reviews. And I just think that, I'm grateful to have these links and these discount codes for you guys to use that can also give me some kind of commission at the end of the day. And that just really helps keep this channel going. So thank you so much for using these codes, and thank you so much for having used these codes and these links in the past. I really appreciate it. And please help the channel grow by subscribing and sharing this video or this podcast in this case with your friends and family. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. But until then, be safe, stay hydrated, and most importantly, be gentle with yourself. I mean it. 안녕.